I think the secret is that I'm a super nerd for it. Like I really
Yeah,
actually like this. So everybody
love
likes
it.
their industry,
Yeah.
but like I said at the beginning, like not a lot of people choose email marketing as their like one true passion. So
Yeah.
I think the uniqueness in me is that I just am really that nerdy for it. Like I
hmm
really actually like this stuff. And so when I'm sharing with a group of people and I see that like, oh, that like nod, I got it. That's really powerful for me. I get really
Yeah.
excited on that. So I feed off of that, I think, as
The
much as
nod.
bringing
Yep.
my own energy to the table.
Welcome to the Entrepreneur's Blueprint. I'm Courtney Cook, founder of Monarch COO, where I help mission-driven entrepreneurs grow their businesses. Each week, I sit down with inspiring entrepreneurs to explore the stories behind their successes and challenges. Whether you're just dreaming of starting a business or already building one, this podcast is here to show you that entrepreneurship is more attainable than it might seem, with insights for every stage of the journey. Jessica Best has over 15 years of experience in email marketing, CRM, and permission-based data-driven marketing. She's helped clients drive revenue from customer data in industries such as restaurant and hospitality, travel, retail, e-commerce, nonprofit, universities, and more. She's taught marketers from New York City to Barcelona, from Vancouver to Dublin, and even at South by Southwest Interactive in Austin. Jessica is the owner and chief strategist of Better Ave, a consultancy focused on implementing the marketing best practices and MarTech harmony she preaches on stage for her clients. Let's dive into today's conversation and see what it takes to build a business. Jessica Best joins me today on the Entrepreneur's Blueprint. Jessica is the founder of Better Ave and is an expert email marketer. Thanks for joining me today, Jess.
I'm happy to be here. And if there's anybody that's another expert in email marketing, I would love to, like, that's just such a unique title and intro. Expert email marketer. Yep, that's me. That's what I do.
Your experience is really, really impressive, and your past work speaks for itself. So would you share more about who you serve and what you do for your customers? And then we'll jump into how you got to where you are today.
Got it. So Better Ave is my consultancy. It is a very strong party of one. And we help our clients put their data to work in their marketing campaigns. And for the most part, that's through email marketing, right? That's one of the channels that we really own. All that data is ours. We can use past purchase data. We can use behavioral data. All those things really tie in. It's really an effective CRM tool. But the truth is that I'm probably a first party data gal at heart. And so what I'm really doing is helping my clients mine their data for gold and put that to work in their campaigns, whether that's through email or paid media or even social media sometimes. So I mostly just do the strategy part. I'm helping those people who are doing email and just don't know if it's any good. I can help. I can help with that. And I've got a ton of experience in the restaurant industry. I've also served university, nonprofit, travel and hospitality.
Awesome.
So a lot of experience, which I know we'll talk about, but I love especially working in the food industry because it's something that's really close to my heart or close to my stomach, I guess. And I've got a lot of really great case studies and stories and learnings in that industry.
Oh, fascinating. I can't even closely relate of like what that would look like. The restaurant industry is just not on my radar.
Yeah.
I'm
It
sure
is a
that
tough
there's a lot.
industry, right? Not
Yeah.
everybody jumps into the restaurant industry on a consulting basis, partially because the margins can be really tough.
Oh,
So
yeah.
the sweet spot for hiring a consultant, probably if you got one location or one spot, you're probably doing it all yourself and you may
hmm
not be ready to talk to me yet. At some
Yep.
point, you got 4 or 5 locations and you're still doing it all yourself and you have no idea if it's making you money. That's when it's probably time to talk to a pro. And that's where I can really shine because I've worked for a group of 40 restaurants, a group of 4,500 restaurants, and I can
Wow.
kind of give you that path to where you're going and let you know if you're on the right track.
Got it. Okay. That's so helpful to
Yeah.
understand. So what inspired you to go out on your own and start Better Ave?
So I have 2 answers. One is I love that I'm able to take a lot of that experience on Fortune 1000 brands and bring it back to Kansas City. I'm a Kansas City girl. So
hmm
I love that I'm able to work on medium and even small sized brands, bringing that experience that I have for let's just say a much more approachable price tag.
Yeah.
Because I'm just me and I'm just doing that strategic consulting where you're still kind of taking on the day to day and you're not paying somebody to manage that, which can get really expensive really fast. The second reason is I'm going to share a little honest story. 2022 was a hard year if you worked in an agency setting. And for years, people asked me, like, why are you working for someone else? You could make so much money if you started your own thing. And I was blissfully happy at Barkley. I had award-winning creatives. I could like throw something and hit somebody that had a Cannes Lion sitting on their desk. I had a 14-person accounting team. Don't have to deal with any of that. I was very well supported and I was wildly trusted and empowered to run my team. And so I really didn't have my sights set on running my own thing. And in 2022, just like every company, but mostly agencies in Kansas City, it was really hard to fill open positions. And I got to where I was doing my VP job and two of my associate directors full-time, like all day and not jobs. And I was very tired. And my boss thought he was helping and he was not. So we got to the point where it became really obvious that I needed to go to get out of the way and let him sort of attempt to run it his way. He's not there anymore. But we had kind of enough of a frustration build up that I was like, I'm going to solve this. I'm going to make the best day of your year and leave. Now, like I said, Barkley, I had a really good relationship all the way up to the top of the chain there. And I felt really loved and appreciated there. So it was not easy to leave. And I think there were a lot of people that were disappointed that I left, but I needed to alleviate that. I was the stopgap because I had this way that I was going to do something. And my manager did not agree with that and was not going to be on board with me really taking ownership of the team. And so I solved it. I was like, I have the best news. I'm solving it for you.
That's a brave move.
But because I was so tired, like by the time I actually turned in my notice, and I gave 3 or 4 weeks notice, like I was trying to really set them up for success. I knew I was not going to start something right away. I knew I needed a mental break. And I started to look at that 14-person accounting team and be like, if I can do my job by tomorrow, why can't you do yours? Like I was so frustrated. I was so exhausted and chaotic all the time that I started to think other people were bad at their jobs. And not everybody has the same get up and go that I do. But I was so frustrated with that I kind of started doing the like, go home, I'll have it done by Monday. I'm going to do your job too. Like I got so mad about it. I just thought, you know what? I might not know how to do all this, but I can give it a good try. And that fear of not knowing what I didn't know was overcome by knowing that I was going to figure it out. So I had to have that. I had to have that flame, that passion that no one else is even trying, which is not true. But I had to get that mad, I think, to just say, it's got to be me, right? I've got to be the only person I'm waiting on for the rest of my career. And so it became really obvious that I was going to start my own thing. It wasn't even a discussion. Like my husband was like, I don't know why you're announcing this to me. Like I thought that was what was happening. So it was a long story, but that was kind of my true kick in the butt that I needed to actually make the decision.
That is awesome and takes so much bravery. So how much time did you take off? And then when did you decide, okay, these are the pieces I'm going to start putting together to do this? And what was that?
So I took my last day at Barkley was October 31st. It was a Monday and it was the last day of the third backfill. So I gave him 3 weeks notice so that I could be there to train my VP replacement, my first associate director replacement, and my second associate director replacement. Now, when I say train, I mean, I got 3 hours with her on her first day and who knows what she remembers. But that was really important to me that I passed that on and kind of had the chance to kind of show her my brain and where my files were and help onboard her. I knew that I needed first thing out of the gate. I'm not going to start a new business at the holidays. I mean, I probably would have done fine, but like, I don't want to be starting a new business during the holidays. I loved that I got the 15th of December through like the new year off at Barkley. And so I was like, we're not making anything up right now. I just needed to reset my pace. So I took 2 months, November and December. And my only goal was I am only allowed to do 3 things a day. So at Barkley, I had this notion that like, the number of things I was doing a day was a normal number. And it was like 25. It was like a coffee at 7:30, but a hard stop at 8:15. So I could get to the office by 8:30. So I could do a meeting at 9, but I'm double booked at 9:30. And I mean, I literally thought that was the number of things people did in a day. And I think some people can do that for a while. I don't think that's like a 40-year plan. Like, I don't think you should do that for a long, long time. And I could feel that I'd had that adrenaline build up. I wasn't sleeping at night. And it took me about 4 weeks before I actually slept 7 hours straight for the first time in years.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, I was unwell. Crazy. I can smile about it now, but like I was not in a great spot and I was not, I was making other people not be in a great spot by
Mm-hmm.
extension. And so 2 months off was perfect. I learned to do 3 things a day, and things like cooking lunch count as a thing. Like that's
Perfect.
one
Yeah.
of my 3 things. Like
Good. Yeah.
most people are like, oh yeah, I ate lunch. No, I am a food person. I want to cook my lunch from scratch. I'm going to go get the groceries.
Yeah.
I'm going to walk them home to my house. I'm going to set out the ingredients for lunch. So really slowing down. And then the only thing that I really took on before the end of the year was I knew I needed a name so that I could really kind of start and launch a little bit before the beginning of the year, or after the beginning of the year. And so my official start date was January 3rd. I gave myself the second off because the first was a Sunday, and I was like, well, I'm at least as good of a boss as my last company was. If they get a gimme day, right? If the first is on a Sunday, we get a make good day on the Monday. And so I started on a Tuesday.
Nice.
And I had the name and just about nothing else. I didn't have a website. My logo wasn't done. All that stuff kind of came in January. I had to figure out QuickBooks. I signed up for DocuSign. My very first contract, I didn't sign it. Like I sent it to my customer and was like, here, sign this. And then it signed it and it was completed. And I was like, oh, I should have put myself on the contract. I mean, it's fine. We completed the contract and everything. Yeah. Like they've come back for additional contracts, but I was like, that one, that's how you learn.
Yes, exactly.
So officially started in January and kind of started with that. Who's my target? What's my messaging? Who am I? Who are my yeses? Who am I saying yes to? And who do I need to say no to? I mean, I had a client reach out to me that would have been a conflict of interest after leaving Berkeley, and I had to say no to. So that was really my January. So it was a 2-month break with a gimme in the month of January.
Nice. Nice. That's perfect. So was there a point when you were like, all right, this was a great decision and this is going to work, and like, I see the path here?
So again, 2 answers, because the first, this was a great decision, was almost immediate. Like I remember the moment I decided to quit. I was walking to the gym for my gym class on a Sunday. And I remember thinking, oh my God, that's it. I'm going to quit. Like, of course, that's the answer. What have I been doing? Why am I stressing myself out? Of course I should quit. I'm not trying to convince them to change. I'm giving them the reasons why I'm not here anymore.
Yeah.
That was like, I mean, I bet I lost 20 pounds that more. Like I just that, oh God. Okay. And I think especially seeing, that first week off or that 4th week off in November and December, my husband noticed a change pretty significantly. So like this was the right decision was very clear very early. This was the right decision from a business standpoint. Like, oh, I have some, hey, this is going to go.
Yeah.
Good deal. I think this actually could be a job. And I will tell you that comes and goes, which I don't have to explain to you. Like there are months where I'm like, okay, that's it. That's all the business. I've done all the business I could possibly do. I guess I'm out of business. But I remember in January when I was like, okay, here's my plan. So I'm going to start in January, like learn, I'll be pitching, but I'll be kind of figuring it out. Maybe I'll get a contract in February, which means I'll really do the work in March, and then maybe March and April, and then I'll bill in May, and then they'll pay in June. So I need like a 6-month runway for my savings account. I'm ready. Like I've got all my like ducks in a row. And my first client, I had a call on January 10th. They signed on January 16th and they prepaid half of their contract. And I was like, oh, no, this is a business. Like I got it. I think I got it. It was a very early validation. And I also am really lucky that I've had a pretty strong brand, both in Kansas City and kind of internationally, because like when you're an email marketing nerd, that niche is so narrow. I speak a lot. I teach a lot. I was kind of the de facto email kid in town. And so I thought for sure people would have forgotten me because I was at Berkeley, head down, just trying to get the day done for probably the better part of the pandemic. And then I launched, and somebody that I hadn't talked to in 3 years was like, oh, we literally need exactly this. And I was like, let's do it.
Yes, let's go.
Let's run. So it was a very early validation, but I realized that I was really lucky in that.
That is awesome. So how did you get started with like speaking engagements and things like that in your career, which has, I assume you did it during your career and that's kind of parlayed into what you do today. You continue to do then?
Yeah. So the speaking thing started kind of funny. It has stayed part of my world, partially because I just love that. I love giving people the answers. I love teaching somebody how to make money with their email program. Like I would tell you for free. I have to be very careful about that because I think I would literally just give you all the answers before you sign the contract.
Yeah. Yeah.
But for speaking, specifically when I was at Influence. So before I was at Barkley, I was at a digital focused agency in town called Influence that also has their own email platform. And they actually snagged me because I was a user of the platform and I just loved their platform. I'd used something that Ticketmaster made before and it was so bad. You know that sometimes big tech is like the worst.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I used this terrible system and I got into Influence and it was so easy to use and I could track everything and I'm like hitting refresh to see my clickers. And I just got super addicted to it. So they actually hired me to be their first marketing manager ever. Like they not had a dedicated marketing person when they were 11 people and still growing.
Nice.
And one of the things that my CEO at the time, Dave Cassiopo, was doing these little educational series. Like I'm going to teach a room full of salespeople how email marketing boosts their business or automation. I'm going to teach the Printers Association of Kansas City how they should partner with email marketing and personalized URLs and all this stuff. Because at the end of every presentation, inevitably, somebody would ask him, so what email platform do you recommend? And this has got to be in like 06, 07. Like we're still early enough that everybody's like, how do I make a choice on what MarTech to choose? Right.
Yeah.
And so he would do this whole free education part just to have that somebody ask that question at the end and he'd go, we have a tool. I'd love to show it to you.
Brilliant.
Right. So as I came in as marketing manager, I took over keeping that deck up to date, new examples, new case studies. There's a little bit of growth in the industry and we're putting in kind of new things you should do, things you shouldn't do. And one of his speaking engagements came up and he goes, I messed up. I double booked myself. I can't make this speaking engagement. You know, the whole deck, you should do it. And it was, I think it literally was for the Printers Association of Kansas City or something. And I was like, yeah, for sure. And my job that previous to that had been a stage focused job. Like I was doing curtain speeches before Broadway shows, reminding people to renew their season tickets. I know.
Oh my gosh.
I have a weird career path. But I was so comfortable on stage from that I don't think I ever was like, oh no, I couldn't possibly. Like I could possibly. I absolutely could possibly. So I do this presentation for maybe 40 people. I am so excited to tell these people the secret sauce that my scores are through the roof. Like they're like, I did not think email marketing was going to be interesting, but you had so much fun sharing those stories. Like I'm into it. You did a great job, whatever. So the scores come back and Dave literally sits me down and he goes, I actually hate doing this. Would you just do it? Like you're great at it. I don't want to do it. Would you take this piece of the business on? And I was like, yeah, absolutely. So at Influence, it became part of my paid job to try and get in front of the right audiences that are asking that question and making that decision on what email platform should I be using. And I got to the point where I was doing like 40 a year, which is a lot, by the way. Like,
it is.
Even if they're regional, I was doing more driving than flying at the time. Wichita, Lincoln, right?
Which is almost,
but still that's a whole day usually if I'm doing a lunch environment. And it was a lot of associations. So it was a lot of people who, I mean, talk about an engaged audience. These people had to pay to be here. They're taking time out of their day. So I think that was part of it was I was there with people who were really hungry for it. And not a lot of people were doing education on email marketing.
Yeah.
So I grew it to sort of what it was. The pinnacle of my Influence speaking career was that we somehow magically crafted the exact right proposal and got booked for South by Southwest Interactive, which is like, like bucket list for any speaker worth their salt, right?
100%.
And it was this little 15-minute session and I rehearsed that thing within an inch of its life. It's on my speaker reels. Like it's something I'm super proud of. And that was when I finally decided, this is part of my gig. Like I'm going to join the National Speakers Association. I'm going to be a speaker as part of my job. And so when I got hired at Barkley, I was like, just so you know, I'm a speaker and I'm not going to not do that. And they loved it. They were like, great. You got to start going to like the National Restaurant Association show. Sweet. And I want you to think bigger beyond what the leads were that you were thinking about. Because Barkley really works with Fortune 500 brands.
Yeah.
So it kind of grew intentionally, but also, again, I think there may be a little element of luck to that. So.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. That is such a cool story. I've always I just think I've always loved listening to people who can speak, and which it's so obvious in just my first conversations with you when we met. Like you're so engaging, and I'm not surprised at all that you've had a lot of success with it.
Thank you. I think the secret is that I'm a super nerd for it. Like I really actually like this. So everybody likes their industry. Yeah. But like I said at the beginning, like not a lot of people choose email marketing as their like one true passion. So I think the uniqueness in me is that I just am really that nerdy for it. Like I really actually like this stuff. And so when I'm sharing with a group of people and I see that like, oh, that like nod, I got it. That's really powerful for me. I get really excited on that. So I feed off of that, I think, as much as bringing my own energy to the table.
Yeah. Oh, that makes sense. So did you always know you wanted to be an entrepreneur, or now being where you are in your career, has this been a surprise?
I think it's still a surprise. Like, okay, so even when you asked me to be on the podcast, I don't know that I would give myself the credit for being an entrepreneur in the same way that I have supported the entrepreneurial scene in Kansas City, partially because I think entrepreneur is this magic unicorn personality type of somebody who sees big and grows big and thinks vision. And like, I think of, Dave, my boss at Influence, is an entrepreneur. Like, he thinks of things in his sleep that are some of our best features or best speaking opportunities, or like his brain just works like that. I think I'm an inventive and creative person, but I don't know that I give myself credit for being an entrepreneur because I started a consulting company. Like, I think someday I could be a team again. I really loved running a team.
Mm-hmm.
But for now it feels like I'm more like the fairy godmother. Like I'm not the main character of the story. I'm more like helping the main character get to the top of the mountain a little bit. And so I still am surprised. I look around and I'm surprised that I own my own business. But I think it's interesting that other people saw it in me. So I come from an entrepreneurial family. I know we're going to talk a little bit about background, but everyone in my family really is an entrepreneur, really is a work for myself, make my own thing from scratch entrepreneur. And I was always happy to be the efficiency driver, the operations driver. Like, I was always happy to be a really effective driver, but with a team, like with somebody else's vision at the helm. And so I just didn't think of myself that way. But I now know, 3 or 4 or 5 different, especially women-owned agencies that have told me for years, they're like, yeah, you should not work for somebody else. Like, you have more in you and you're giving it all under somebody else's flag. And I was like, yeah, but that flag comes with health insurance and it comes with stability of salary. Like, I was like, yeah, but I don't mind. Like, it doesn't bother me that it doesn't have my name on it. But especially the founders of Merrigan and Company, not founders, I guess, but co-owners, Merritt and Monica, 12 years ago, 10 years ago, we're like, you got to go.
Why are you doing this?
Like, why are you giving somebody else such a huge percentage of credit and salary and whatever? I was like, I don't know. I'm just not drawn to do it. So I think other people could see it in me. I'm a very intrapreneur. Do we still say that, or is that gross now?
Yeah, we can totally say that.
I think I was creative and innovative within my role within a company, without ever feeling like I needed to make something new. And I see that in a lot of entrepreneurs. The founder of Hello Big Idea, she's an entrepreneur. That woman would change the walls of her company office every month just because she got inspired to make a new change. That piece I feel like doesn't come naturally to me. But the entrepreneurial streak, I think, runs a little bit deeper than I maybe give it credit for. And I enjoy having all of the pieces entirely under my control and being the driving force, getting things going forward.
Yeah, the frustration the frustration you described earlier on when you were like, okay, I gotta leave. I'm just gonna make this everybody's lives easier. I'm out. That probably would have been a repetitive thing in your career because of how you're wired. And I can relate to that wholeheartedly of like, I just want to make this decision on my own and go.
Yeah. And you're nicer about it than I was. I was literally like, go home, move. I got it. I'll just do it. Oh. But yeah, I think that's probably some of the underlying thing is, there was some tension between me and somebody who thought he knew how to do it better than me.
Yeah.
Except for I've been doing it for 7 years. I'm making you $7 million a year. What if you just leave me alone? Like, what if you just let me do it? And that was the first time I ever thought, maybe I don't have all the answers, but I know more than this guy. Which, again, you're nicer than I am. But I was in such a spot where I was like, that was the first time I thought, I'm not scared of being an entrepreneur anymore because I know that I know more than some of the people that are out there giving it a go. So I should give it a go.
Yeah, absolutely. So what was your childhood like? And where did you grow up? What was your family life like? I'm curious what this little entrepreneurial streak was inside you too.
Well, so I was the black sheep in my family for a long time because I got a degree in marketing and then got a job, like a 9-to-5 job. My parents, so I grew up in Independence. I'm a Kansas City girl through and through. My whole family through my dad's side, my mom's side lives in Baldwin City. So we're all kind of Kansas City based. And growing up, my dad's priority was that he wanted to be home when we got home from school. Like he grew up in an entrepreneurial family. My grandparents, his parents, ran a Tupperware distributorship. So my last name is Best. So they called the Tupperware distributorship Best Friend. And it was Mr. Best and Mr. Friend ran a Tupperware distributor. I kid you not. This is my favorite story about my family.
That is so cool.
Yeah. So he had seen that. He had kind of known that like, and that was a big team. And he'd worked a little bit for mom and dad and that type of thing. But his version of that, his takeaway from that was that he wanted to be home when his kids got home, which is not what he came home to. So he wanted to have a job that fit with that. And so he did a lot of education stuff. He did a substitute teaching. He did some theater stuff, but his goal was really to be home for us. And then at some point we kind of, you get into like middle school and okay, well now we're a little bit more like, just come home with the right key at the right time. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so he started doing his own thing and he created a company. It was a lawn service company, at different times hired different people to kind of work with them, but it was a pretty low key. This is what I can do. I'm the main producer, maybe a little bit more like my style of entrepreneurship.
Yeah.
But the bigger one for me was my mom. I just thought moms owned companies. Like my mom had a interesting path. They actually met in theater. My parents met in they were both theater majors. My mom was a French Spanish minor and she went to work for the airport and ended up working on this legal and accounting software. Like she just was a user of it.
Okay.
Fast forward 20 years, she's the number one user and trainer on that software. And so she and her business partner created a company around doing installation, training, and management of this legal and accounting software.
Sweet.
Like she became like the person who does what she does in a 3-state area.
Wow.
And she grew a, 10-person company. And like that was growing up, my mom had a company. That was what she did. Wow. So that was, I think that impressed more on me than maybe I give it credit for as well. Like I just thought that was the truth. Like sometimes dad stayed home and moms ran companies.
Yeah.
My sister maybe got the bug earlier than I did. My younger sister, also theater, dancer, singer, actress, moved to New York to do some of that, but then also sought out her yoga certification.
Okay.
And started a yoga practice and art, not practice, but like she sells visual art and things like that. So my whole family has like made money for themselves since the dawn of time. And I was the weirdo that got a journalism degree and started working in marketing roles 9 to 5.
Yeah.
So it's funny now, my sister works in a 9 to 5 job in New York City, but
you've switched.
We've flip-flopped a little bit. And I think that upbringing of, not just my parents, but my grandparents, really driving their own bus, right?
Yeah.
Like, and that I think was imprinted on me from a very young age. Like there was nothing I couldn't do. There was nothing that was out of reach. I was very empowered. And I think the way that I interpreted that was I can do a really great job at whatever I'm assigned. Yep. And I think where I grew along the years was, no, I can make a really great thing. Like I can make a really great job for myself or a really great career for myself, not just do a good job for someone else. Yeah. So I think I always had that, but it had been interpreted in different ways. Growing up, I just thought, well, yeah, I'm just going to do a great job.
Yep.
And really what it turned into was I might have a higher bar of excellence than regular people.
Yeah.
Like calm, unchaotic people.
Yes.
And I think that is also probably a sign of a destination for leadership as well, is I can bring all of us up. And I think having had the experience of leading a 17-person team at Barkley, I started to learn how to manage different personalities with different levels of enthusiasm for their work, and still manage to excellence. So bring everybody up to excellence. And that was, I think, a transition period for me as well, a learning period for me as well, where I realized the conversations that I was having with my mom were, what do you do when one of your employees ...
Yeah.
Like that thing that I'd kind of taken for granted, the conversations that I'd had with my mom over the years morphed into, but when I'm in charge, how do I make it go better or whatever?
Yeah. Were your parents ever saying like, should you be out doing something on your own while you were still in the corporate world? Or like, was there any influence or suggesting from them or even, and maybe there wasn't, maybe they're just like, we're just waiting for this ball to drop.
So I would say that in my family, I'm like all the personality profiles, but I'm probably the driver, right?
Yeah.
I think my parents are um, extremely dedicated and extremely successful, but I'm probably the pusher in the family.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't think anybody in my family thought they were going to tell me to go out on my own.
Yeah.
So I will say, I still remember. So that Sunday morning, I made the decision and I was like, oh my God, this is it. That's the relief. Like, I know this is the right path. Monday, I'd written an email to Tippy Top. Like I
Mm-hmm.
had a better relationship with my COO than with my boss. And so I
Yeah.
sent a note to him and I said, I just realized that this email that I keep rewriting is not me trying to get you to see my point of view. It's me explaining to you, I got to go. And I think it's going to be better if I go. I think everyone will get more sleep if I go. And so I sent this email and I just felt like, and then Monday morning was supposed to be like a bank holiday or whatever. And the office was closed, but I was flying out to one of my clients' big annual conferences. So like they bring all of their franchisees. This is a restaurant. They bring all their franchisees for like 3 days. And they had us come in and talk about email marketing and sort of how we're taking the practice and the work that we do with Barkley versus what they can do in their own. And so I am flying to California and at a conference with a client who doesn't and shouldn't know that I've quit. Like, it's not time yet because I gave 3 weeks specifically so that we would have time to kind of build in some of these intentional conversations. And so I am like whispering in the hallway, calling my mom and dad, like, hey, I just thought you should know. I've made this decision. I feel really good about it. I'm going to start my own company. I'm going to take the rest of the year off. There's a lot more details to come, but I felt like it wasn't real until I told you.
Yeah.
And both of my parents' reactions were very much like, obviously, of course you are. Like they were happy for me, but they like the level of surprise was -5. Like they absolutely knew that this was coming, but no, I wouldn't say that they nudged me necessarily because I probably wouldn't have been ready for it.
Yep. Oh, that's cool. So are you firstborn?
I am. Can you tell?
Figured. You give me firstborn energy, which is like me.
Yeah. Yep.
That's awesome.
See, I've got this, mom and dad. Go be adults. I'll be the parent.
Yes. Yep, 100%. Oh, that's a cool story.
Us firstborns have to stick together, though.
We do.
It's a style. It's a lifestyle.
Absolutely. Technically, I'm a twin. I'm only 3 minutes older, but it counts.
Oh, I love it. But if you have the energy, like if you take that responsibility of firstborn seriously, then you win.
Yeah. It's bad. My poor brother.
Okay, but also the girl boy thing is different. Like,
yes.
Even if you were 3 minutes older as twins, I think you still would have taken a little bit of that
the mother hen
or like babysitter in charge role when you guys were growing up.
Yep. It's 100%. My mom will probably say she didn't have to do as much mothering because she had me.
Yeah.
Especially when we were in high school. Yep. So what are your goals for your business this year?
Ooh, okay. So, I'm sure this is obvious at this point in the interview, but I am a planner and I like my first month I did, I wonder if it's here somewhere. Oh, I think I loaned it out. The entrepreneurial operating system is based on a book called Traction. I think you're familiar. And I had read it when I was at Barkley thinking, are there things that I can learn for how to run a 17-person team better? Like, can I like right person, right role? Some of these things really apply. And so I'd read it and I put it away. And then I'm starting my company and I was like, well, first thing I have to do is reread the book as an entrepreneur to see what like my plan on a page would be. And so I'm like marking the book all up. And I've got I have no company. Like I have been out on my own for 1 week and I'm like my 10-year goals. And I was like, first of all, those aren't even my 10-year goals anymore.
Yeah. Those are out the window.
And I feel like this is the first year that my goals are based in reality. Yeah. So my second year goals, my 2024 goals were based on 2023 numbers. I'm an extraordinarily analytical person. So 2023, I made X amount, but I really needed first quarter to sell second quarter and second quarter. So I knew that I probably could grow by 25%. And I did. I grew by about 30%, right? In 2024. 2024 going into 2025, I have no reason to believe that I can suddenly add 25% to my capacity, to my sales funnel, to my whatever. And so I didn't set it at 25, but I thought, I'm not exclusively growth oriented. I want to do great work with clients that I love, and I want a good life balance. But I thought, I think I can see it. I can see where I have capacity to add. And so I set a goal for myself. It's a bizarre number, but 11%.
Okay.
Based on all the numbers and the calculus in my head.
Yep.
And my revenue goals also represent, I'd like to have a good balance of, for my first couple of years, one of the things I wanted to save time for was all of my nonprofit involvement. Mentoring, I sit on a board for a choral organization,
cool.
Getting involved with my security committee for my HOA, like all of those things take time and effort and energy. And I felt like I still wanted that total to be 40 hours a week while I was sort of healing from this overperformer, overfunctioning lifestyle. Yep. So this year I've really said, okay, I think I can maybe shift that a little bit more back and maybe take a pause on some of my mentorship work, because foundership has been so rewarding and I feel like that's too directional. And I can also maybe, like, I am wrapping up my second year as president of the choral organizations board. So there's just some natural rollover that I'm going to have this capacity. Long story short, I set my goals based on what I think I can sell, but also what I think I can get done. And so that's kind of, the biggest goal is still sleeping well at night, followed closely by, I think I've got 10 or 11% growth on my plate for this year.
Awesome.
And then I also keep that goal in the back of my head of, I'd love to continue to do an international speaking engagement a year, just because of what it affords me. To be paid to travel is a privilege, and I really enjoy that component of it. So this year was Denmark. I just did a speaking engagement in Denmark about a month ago. The year before that was Bucharest, Romania.
Wow.
Yeah. So, it's a cool part of my business that I don't want to lose. I love the speaking engagement sort of nationally as well, but, that's one of those things that maybe it doesn't bring me business, but I love it. And that's kind of snuck on my goal list as well.
That's awesome. You can just take some time and extend your trip with some extra travels involved, and that'd be awesome.
So Bucharest, I just did 2 days, and partially because, I did 2 days in Amsterdam on the way there, and then it's a 2-hour flight from Amsterdam to Bucharest. Okay. I did 2 days in Bucharest before, like, settling in and, like, this is my conference day, and then the next day is just travel hell to get back. One big long 24-hour day. But it's so funny that I just said I want international travel gigs. I don't love flying.
Interesting.
Turbulence has gotten a lot worse. And if you have a little seasickness or air sickness, the last few years of travel have probably made you a little bit nuts, because it's not a little anymore. Like, all turbulence has gotten worse. And just travel in general, I think, has gotten harder. And I'm older.
Age makes a difference.
Right. Like, in my 20s, I traveled every 2 weeks to one of my cities, and it just didn't even occur to me to be tired. And now it's a lot. And so I partially add days because I want to be able to experience that city with a fresh brain, and I want to be really fresh for stage on the third day. And so, actually Denmark, my husband came with me on this trip.
Sweet.
Like 4 days in Denmark.
Awesome. That's perfect. You should absolutely bring him along. He can be your assistant while you're there to speak anyway.
He has to take pictures of me keynoting in front of 500 Danish people who are not really laughing at my jokes. It turns out they thought I was really funny, but apparently they're very, like, they're respectfully quiet.
Okay.
Sure. And I was like, okay, we're not in Dallas.
No. Nobody's laughing. Am I not funny?
I got a great speaker rating. And so, I'm grateful for it. But as an international speaker, you have to kind of be ready for how that audience is going to show you appreciation.
Yeah. Did you know that ahead of time or after?
No, I did. As soon as I got off stage, somebody was like, you did a really good job. Don't be worried that you didn't get a lot of laughs. And I actually did. Or maybe somebody told me beforehand, don't worry if you don't get a lot of laughs, because they're a quiet audience. And I got a laugh probably within 10 minutes. And I was like, oh, okay, we're okay. Nice. But after I got done speaking, like, dozens of people walked up to me and were like, oh my gosh, best speaker we've had. And I wore this geeky shirt that says my job is email in Barbie letters, like Ken's job is beach, my job is email.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. So that was a hit. Everyone there was fluent in English. And so they thought that was pretty fun.
I bet they did. That is hilarious.
Yeah.
So how do you balance the demands of running a business with your personal life?
Yeah. So this is one of those questions that I feel like I used to say, it's all just a dance, right? And maybe that's still the right answer, but I feel like what I'm used to mean is my business creeps into every part of my life. So I don't know what balance would or wouldn't look like. And now I feel like the big thing for me is time boxing a little bit. So even though I'm flexible during the day, if I need to have a doctor's appointment or I have an interview or whatever, all those things fit because I'm only selling 25 hours a week, not 40 hours a week, if that makes sense.
Yep.
So I'm trying to I really did my time eating dinner and then coming back and sitting at my desk and working until midnight. Like that is just it's not my most productive time. It's my most resented time. So for me, I'd rather stay on early and cancel my fun coffee plans and just work 8 to 5 and time box that work time than have to, my friend's in town and I'd love to see her for coffee, but let's make it happy hour so that I can be done with work and I don't have to have this hard stop. So that to me is the biggest thing, is just making sure that work stuff fits within work hours. That's something that I had to learn at the agency. I learned they'll give everything you have. They will take anything you're given. So I talked to my boss, 6 months into working at Berkeley, big agency. I'm working 11-hour days. And I was like, how was the person in my role before this doing this in 8 hours a day? He goes, oh no, you were 2 people before.
Oh my gosh.
I was like, why did no one? Okay. He's like, well, you were doing it all.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not sleeping. This is not a deal. This is no deal, no dice, right? They'll take he was, he was not much of a mentor. He was not much of a manager, but I kind of like that he stayed out of my way. So we worked together just fine.
Yeah.
I still remember him leaning back in the conference room and going, Jessica, let me tell you something. And I was like, oh Jesus, here it comes. He's like, this is an agency and they're going to take everything you're giving without asking if you're okay. It's up to you to set your own boundaries. And if you are giving more than you can give, then you got to stop doing that, because I'm not checking in with you. I trust that you're going to take care of your own stuff. If we had to get somebody else in here are the ways that we would afford that person, whatever. So he gave me the template. He gave me the guide to saying, not only am I not working this way, but when I hire my first person, she's not going to work this way.
Yeah.
I'm not running a team where I sell 8 hours of someone's day. And Berkeley on paper didn't do that. We're supposed to have 6 billable hours a day, or 7, for a 32-hour week. Is that right? That's it. I can't be right. 32 hours, whatever that divides by.
That's a lot of billable.
It's still a lot, but if we only have one team stand up and one all staff stand up, that's just 2 hours. If you've got time entry, if you've got a doctor's appointment, all that, the idea is all that fits into that 8-hour extra. Or maybe it goes to 45 hours with all of that. Maybe you work 40 hours, but sometimes it's at night because you had a 3-hour doctor's appointment for a kiddo or something. Yeah. All above board, right? That's how most companies work. That's not wrong.
Yeah.
Where I was giving was I was doing a 40-hour work week, except for it wasn't taking me 40 hours, but I was getting it all done. So I made sure that I had again, calculus, right? I'm a numbers person. I sat down and I was like, this is how much we're allocated on paper. I am at 150%. When can I hire my next person? 80%. Great. So I have to hang in there until I'm ready to hire another person and give her 80% of my job. Wow. And then 5% oversight. So the first hire was really hard. The next few were a lot easier, right? Because she and I only then had to work 40% over before we could justify the hire for the next person, or get one new big contract before we could justify the hire for the next person. And that's the type of lessons that I'll bring into my consulting company too, right? When I hire that first person, it's going to be the most painful person. I'm going to have to offer benefits if I'm offering them to myself. I mean, there's all these things that you have to think about. And I think for me, learning that first, managing that time for the team and protecting the team's time and setting those expectations of what's possible for a human being to do with a day. That is something that I was glad I have practice in before I'm doing this on my own. And holding myself to that standard, because Kansas City has an incredible entrepreneurial community, which I'm sure you're aware of. And I had a bunch of people say how excited they were for me. Oh my gosh, you're never going to sleep again, but it'll be the best job you've ever had. And I was like, literally, no, opt out.
That's not what I'm trying to build. Yeah.
So I had to know how to build that, border or that boundary for myself before starting my own business, or I would be in a tough spot, I think, right now.
Yeah, for sure. Your husband would have been like, no, this isn't what
Did
this
not
was
sign
meant
up
to
for this.
be.
And he
Yeah,
was super supportive because
yeah,
he can tell that I will run it my way and do it my way and I have
for
control
sure.
and I get all this stuff back. But I agree. Like it is absolutely at least one part favor to Brian that I keep my life balanced
Yeah.
because it's hard for tired Jessica to be a very good partner.
Yep. I am with you on that. So my last question for all guests is, what's one thing you wish you knew when you started your entrepreneurial journey?
Oh man. So again, I feel like I got to cheat code this whole thing. When I first started, everyone would tell me like the scary parts are when the new business pipeline, you turn around and your new business pipeline is empty.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
you spend all this time doing the work and focusing on the work and you forget to sell the work. And then you spend all this time selling the work and all that closes and then you do the work and you forget to sell the work.
Yeah.
I think my model is especially prone to that. And you may feel the same way because I'm project based. So an email marketing audit is a 4 to 6 week project. I dive in really deep. I do this really, really deep work and I really get to know somebody's business. And then I share my results with them and kind of give them a list of how I would prioritize implementation. Great. Except for my brain can't do more than 2 of those at a time because I get it all mixed up.
Yeah.
So I literally have almost one client at a time. Like I have a one client, 2 week pause, second client, finish the first client, third client, right? So I have this staggered productivity pipeline. If I don't have a pipeline at any point in time, I'm in trouble. And so I think I was rightfully scared of that going out on my own. And what I found was the things that are selling and how I keep my new business pipeline full are so natural to me that I have not had a lot of lulls.
Nice.
So the first lull I did have was a good 3-week lull. And I was like, that's it. I'm out of business. I have to go work at Starbucks. What am I doing with my life?
Yeah.
So I think for me, no one could have told me this, but for me and my personality and how networked I am and how genuinely engaged in other people's businesses I am, I wish someone had told me, you're actually not going to struggle with that. Probably you're going to have other struggles, but that may not be your struggle. So like take the week where you don't have work as the week where you get to go to the zoo in the middle of the day.
Yeah.
Like, just enjoy it. Because I did spend the first kind of week of that time going, oh God, I'm in trouble.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then you close something and it takes a while for them to sign and pay and start and whatever. And so you've got this lull. And as long as I've got something on the books, I'm pretty good.
Yep. And it's all going to be okay. It always works out in a timing that you're just like, oh, wow, I could not have orchestrated that myself.
Totally. Right. And that there's enough for everybody. I think the other thing, and I kind of came into this business with that, like you and I might not do exactly the same thing, but we might have some overlap in what we do.
Yeah.
And there's enough work to go around.
100%.
I mean, I have multiple writers that I can call on. I have multiple content people that I can call on to do work with. And there's just enough of that business to go around. And there's a little slice for everybody.
Absolutely. Yeah. So if people want to connect with you or work with Better Ave, how can they reach out?
LinkedIn has been kind of the miracle pathway for me, partially because my company's Better Ave, right?
Yeah.
But my website is better-av.com.
Okay.
And so saying that out loud to people at like a networking event or a conference or something, just find me on LinkedIn. Jessica Best on LinkedIn. And then once we connect in direct messages, then I'll send you an email and we can kind of connect.
Awesome. That's perfect. Well, thanks so much for joining me today. Your story is so fun. And I'm excited for you. I know you have only been in business for 2 years, but like, I think what you've learned and what you've taken over the entirety of your career, it's all been so orchestrated, for where you are today. And it's really inspiring. And I know other people will be inspired by it. So thank you.
Thank you so much. Thanks for letting me share my story.
Thanks for tuning in to this episode of The Entrepreneur's Blueprint. I hope you found inspiration and insights to fuel your entrepreneurial journey. If you're looking for support in building or scaling your business profitably, visit my website or send me an email to learn more about how I help mission-driven businesses become more profitable, proactive, and efficient. If you enjoyed today's episode, please take a moment to leave a review on Spotify or Apple Podcasts. It really helps other entrepreneurs discover the show, and it would mean so much to me as well. Until next time, keep building, keep dreaming, and keep going.